right, so the Iliad and the Odyssey are 2 parts in an ancient Greek 8-part series on the Trojan War. We lost the other 6 parts, but we know it's in them. And guys, we have the Iliad, one of the 2 poems of the 8 that we actually have written down. Greek mythology nerds, sit your butts down. Stories about the Trojan War have been told for so long that we really don't know how much of it really happened. We know there was a city called Troy that was destroyed and then rebuilt, and then destroyed and then rebuilt, and then destroyed and rebuilt a couple more times, and then destroyed and then discovered by an amateur German archaeologist named Heinrich Schliemann, who really didn't know what he was doing and just bulldozed through a bunch of ruins. We also think a couple of the characters from the Trojan War might have existed too, but not most of the main ones. In the 700s BCE, a guy named Homer travels around Greece, takes all these stories people are telling about the Trojan War, and piles them up into the Iliad and the Odyssey. These stories were so popular that, as you probably know by now, we still have them thousands of years later. But here's the thing. We're pretty sure Homer was a real guy. We're pretty sure because people from the same time period wrote about him like he was real. But half the time they were more interested in honoring his legacy than telling the straight facts. So we don't really know anything about the sucker for certain. Might have been blind, might have been from Greece or Turkey. Hard to say anything definite. By now, most experts agree that Homer probably was real and probably didn't write all of the Iliad or the Odyssey. Okay, couple things before we get started. 1. Ancient Greeks and Trojans worshipped the same gods. Zeus, Athena, Apollo, etc. And these aren't capital G gods. If mythology is meant to explain the world around us, our flaws as humans are explained as having come from the flaws of the gods. And brother, 2. The gods are petty and they run your life. You can run, you can try to be sneaky, but sooner or later you are going to meet your capital D destiny. Every so often somebody manages to cheat their capital D destiny and the outcome is not capital G great. 3. If you're an ancient Greek or Trojan, you are obsessed. You are foaming at the mouth for glory and honor and the homeland. Pretty wild these days, right? But if you have the choice to live a weak little insignificant life or die early in battle with honor, you're choosing the second option and it's not really even an option. All right, you taking notes? You're not taking notes? Go get a pen. I'll wait. No, I won't. Let's go. If you saw my video on the Cypria, the first poem in the timeline of the Trojan War, it ends with the Greeks camped outside the city of Troy, raiding the little towns around it. By the way, the Iliad was written before the Cypria. The Cypria was like a retcon prequel thing. We don't have to talk about it. The Iliad starts with one of these raids on a town where the Greeks steal the daughter of a priest of Apollo. The Greek king Agamemnon won't give her back, so Apollo shoots plague arrows at the Greeks till they all get together and say, "Dog, Agamemnon, give that girl back." Because, women were treated famously well in ancient Greece. So the king goes, "Fine, I'll give her back if Achilles gives me his girlfriend." Quick pause. The Iliad has main characters in the same way that, like, Lord of the Rings has main characters. There's like 3 to 5, and you could argue some of the minor characters are pretty big too. But the closest thing we've got to a main character is Achilles. Achilles is the greatest warrior on either side of this war. He's fantastic in a fight, he's obscenely arrogant and easy to piss off, and he comes with 2 prophecies. 1, he's either going to lead a long, insignificant life, or die an early, glorious death in a battle. The second prophecy is that the Greeks need him in some capacity to capture Troy. They can't win the war without him. So when the king steals Achilles' girlfriend, the word girlfriend, by the way, doing a lot of heavy lifting here, Achilles says, "Fine, take her. But then you lose me and all my warriors." And the king's like, "Wait, what? We need you to win the war." And Achilles is like, "Sorry, dog, too far away, can't hear you. Should have thought of that before you stole my girlfriend." And he goes and sits off at his own camp and watches the fight. And this is like 2/3 of the poem. The Greeks trying to capture Troy and win the war without Achilles. This is also a good time to mention another main character, Hector. Hector is a prince of Troy, the son of the Trojan king Priam. He's the brother of Paris, who stole Helen from the Greeks and kickstarted the war. It's said that Hector might be as good as Achilles in battle. But even Hector doesn't think he's as good as Achilles in battle. There are a lot of ridiculously bloody fight scenes that are, guys, downright cinematic. The Greek gods pick sides and get involved, despite Zeus, the king of the gods, telling them not to. By the way, the Iliad has some of the best uses of Greek mythology out there. The politics in this are like Game of Thrones, before season 8. Eventually, the Trojans kick the Greeks all the way back to their own ships and start to light them on fire. The Greeks go to Achilles and say, "Bob, it's time to engage." A little Incredibles reference for you there. And Achilles says, "Still no, but Patroclus, my boyfriend, can go out in my armor and fight." Patroclus puts on Achilles' armor and beats the Trojans almost all the way back to the gates of Troy. Apollo shows up and warns Patroclus not to try to take the city. Patroclus ignores him and tries to take the city, and Apollo strips Achilles' armor off Patroclus, and Hector runs him through with a spear, which unalives him? I don't know what the sensors are here. Achilles does not react well. He throws a tantrum for days. Eventually, he gets a new set of armor for the gods. Seriously, they spent like half a chapter just talking about the armor. Sets aside his differences with King Agamemnon. Guys, it's all coming together. God, I love a team up. And rides out. Zeus sees Achilles leading the Greek army and freaks out that he's gonna end the war too fast. So he turns to the gods and says, hey, go on down there. So the gods join the fight and almost literally raise hell. Okay, I need you to hear me in this next part, okay? Achilles, at one point, fights a river. Achilles manages to kick all the Trojans back into the city of Troy except Hector. Hector sees the plan. Hector knows that a full decade of fighting has led right to this. So he and Achilles have a fight scene that's better and more emotional than most of what Hollywood can whip up today. And when Hector sees the gods abandoning him, he points at Achilles and says neither one of them has long for this world. Achilles then fulfills Hector's destiny and drags the body by the ankles behind a chariot all the way back to the Greek camp. They bury Patroclus and have funeral games in his honor, which I can't lie, I kind of want to bring back, while the gods magically keep Hector's body from decomposing. The poem ends with the Trojan king Priam sneaking into the Greek camp and begging for Hector's body back. Achilles says okay, and the Trojans, guys, there's something about like ancient funeral practices that gets to me a little bit. Like the book ends with them bringing Hector inside the city and like getting the body ready, and they give speeches and they like bury him on a hill and they put a monument in his honor. It's like, we still do that, you know? Like we've been doing that for thousands of years, and we haven't found a better way to express how we need to express the death of someone we know and love than pretty much that. It's just like, that's one of the few things that we as humans always will be doing. It's so crazy to me. Also, I want to note the Iliad ends here with Hector's burial. There's no Trojan horse, there's no sacking of Troy, no death of Achilles, no like little teaser for the Odyssey, nothing like that. It just ends with the burial of Hector. Whew! Sorry that one took so long. The next one we have is the Aethiopus, and that definitely won't take long because we don't have it. So, stay tuned.